She came out of the bedroom in a dress I didn't recognize. Deep burgundy, slid up to the thigh, heels I hadn't seen her wear in years. I glanced up from the TV and said nothing. That silence was the last piece of pride I had left. She fixed. Her earrings in the hallway mirror like I was invisible. Then came the smirk. "I'm going on a date. Try not to be too jealous." That was it. No fight, no story, just those words. She grabbed her keys, and the sound of ice clinking in her glass felt like mockery. I didn't ask where or who. I didn't move. But I watched. I always watched. Once the door clicked shut, I stood slowly, like every joint in my body had aged, in seconds. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed the bottle of wine she'd been saving for something special, and sat at the table. Not to drink, just to sit and think. She didn't take her charger. She did take her perfume. She didn't pause. Not even a little. I opened my laptop and typed one word: betrayal. I didn't get far. A cloud sync notification popped up. Her tablet had connected again. There they were, dozens of pictures. No faces, just body parts, hotel linens, blurry mirror selfies with someone else's shadow in the frame. I didn't even breathe. Then came the audio clips, 3 in total, each one worse than the last. I hit play on the third. Some static, whispering, then laughter. Her laugh. Then his voice, the one I knew too well. He still doesn't know. Why would I tell him? He thinks I'm at book club. Poor guy's probably doing laundry while we talk. She laughed again. That sound didn't shatter me. It didn't make me rage. Something inside me just bent, and it never unbent again. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I planned. I opened her drawer and pulled out that journal she didn't know I had read. Page 16. Circled hearts around a date, next Friday. A hotel name, a time. I took screenshots, printed everything, added tabs. Then for the first time in our entire marriage, I called her mother. "Just confirming the family dinner this Friday. You'll all be there, right?" Her mom said yes. Perfect. That gave me 7 days. 7 days to become a version of me she never saw coming. And when the truth hit, it wouldn't be loud. It'd land like a funeral. The next morning she acted like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't walked out in that dress. Like she hadn't said what she said. Like she hadn't snapped something in me. She poured her coffee, hummed a tune, and asked if I'd seen her scarf. I told her no. Just watched. Her movements felt rehearsed, like I was watching a stranger mimic my wife. She sat across from me, barefoot, scrolling her phone and smiling, at texts that weren't mine. The betrayal wasn't the worst part. It was how easy it came to her. How naturally she moved through her double life, like it was just another outfit. I played along, kissed her cheek before heading to work, but I didn't go to the office. I went to a print shop, handed over a flash drive. The guy behind the counter saw the files, paused, then asked, "You sure you want this printed?" I nodded. Front and back, bound, labeled, glossy. He just nodded again. That was day 1. By day 3, I had moved all our shared funds into a temporary account. All legal, all quiet. I met with a financial advisor, someone a friend had used after his own divorce. A guy who now helped men avoid losing everything to women who already took too much. Emotionally, I wasn't bitter. Not yet, just clinical. That night, she came home late again. "Book club went great," she said. "Wish you could have been there." Then she kissed me, but I felt nothing, not even disgust. Just nothing. I watched her change into pajamas and slip into bed like I didn't know she'd already deleted me from her life. When she reached for her phone, I saw it, the name glowing on the screen. Tucker. Tucker had been at our wedding. He toasted our vows. He cried on our couch after his own split. I'd handed him a beer and told him, "Not every marriage ends bad." Turns out he'd been ending mine. I wasn't even mad at him. Not in the way people would expect. I was mad at myself for not seeing it sooner, for believing that respect couldn't be faked this long. But she was skilled. A true artist in disguise. Day 5, I drove to the hotel from the photos, walked into the lobby like I belonged. Gave her name to the front desk. The clerk barely looked up, nodded, confirmed the room number and time. I tipped him, walked out, went back to the print shop. Ordered 2 more copies. One for him, one for her. Same layout. Same binding. I didn't want an explosion. That's not my way. I'm not the guy who screams. I'm the guy who waits, watches, documents. And when the idea hit, it was perfect. One last message before the fall. The night before their little trip, I booked the room next to theirs. Slipped an envelope under the door. It said, "You're both invited, RSVP not required." Inside were the photos, audio transcripts, a screenshot of the family dinner guest list. Same night, same time, same you know what's about to happen. The last page said, "Smile for the camera. Room 406 has a perfect view." She still had no idea I knew, but tomorrow she'd find out. Her audience wouldn't just be me, it'd be everyone. The next morning, she was oddly warm, made me coffee, wore that old hoodie she used to call ugly but comforting. If I didn't know better, I'd have thought she was falling for me all over again. But now I knew better. I knew this wasn't love. It was guilt. Or at least, her way of pretending it didn't exist. She wanted comfort. One last taste of the old life. One last lie before the curtain dropped. Before she melted into another man's arms later that night, I kept playing my part. I smiled, complimented her hair, told her she smelled amazing. When she asked if I'd be okay with her stepping out just to clear her head, I gave her the kind of look you give a kid who lies about sneaking dessert, humoring, not fooled. She walked out around 6:30 p.m., wearing that same burgundy dress. I watched from the window, hidden. She didn't look back, not once. At 6:55, I pulled into the parking lot of Crannell's Steakhouse. Her parents were already seated, along with her 2 sisters and their husbands. It was just a regular family. Dinner planned weeks ago, the kind no one looks forward to but no one skips either. They were surprised to see me walk in alone. Her mom half joked, "Did Nain get stuck doing her makeup again?" I gave a soft smile. "Something like that." I sat, greeted everyone warmly, made small talk, even raised a toast with sparkling water, saying I was driving more lately. 10 minutes in, I pulled a single brown envelope from my bag and placed it in front of her mother. She blinked, confused. "What's this?" "A mistake," I said, "but not mine." Then I handed out the others, one for each family member, and told them not to open them just yet. Her father, always the suspicious type, narrowed his eyes. "Curtis, what's going on?" I looked right at him. "Everything in those envelopes is time-stamped, backed up, and includes audio. You don't have to look now. In fact, I'd prefer if you waited until she gets here." Her younger sister leaned in. "She's coming?" I nodded. "Oh, yeah. Any minute now." What I didn't tell them was that she thought she was headed to a hotel suite with Tucker. What she'd actually find was a note taped to the inside of the door. Dinner plans changed. Dress accordingly. At exactly 7:26 p.m., just as her mom started to ask another question, the front doors opened. And there she was, hair curled, heels loud, and that same smirk that started all of this. But the second she saw me, and then the envelopes, it vanished. She froze. Her eyes bounced from me to her family to the table. "Sit," I said. Not loud, not aggressive, just flat. She didn't budge. Her mother asked, "Nain, what's going on?" You could see her brain churning, running the math, trying to decide fake tears, anger, run, beg. Instead, she laughed, sharp, bitter. "Oh my God," she forced out, faking a smile. "You're all seriously buying into this?" No one spoke. I leaned forward. "You can say it's fake. Say I'm paranoid. Say I edited everything. But after tonight, you'll never walk into this place again without whispers trailing you." Her face darkened. I placed one more envelope on the table, smaller, cream-colored, sealed in gold. "What's that?" she asked. Her father answered, "It's yours." She opened it slowly. Inside, a single sheet, a screenshot from the hotel's hallway camera. Her and Tucker, wrapped around each other near the elevator. Time-stamped, 3:47 a.m. Her expression? Not rage, not guilt, just panic. I leaned in and whispered, "Smile wider. The internet's not impressed yet." She dropped the envelope. But I wasn't done, because this wasn't just about Tucker, or the dress, or the lies. This was about everything she thought she could do without consequences. And I hadn't even dropped the real bomb yet. No one said anything for a beat. She stood frozen, gripping her purse like it might teleport her out of the restaurant. Her mom flipped through the pages, growing paler with each one. Her dad had already pushed his chair back, rubbing his face like a man watching a slow-motion wreck. Her younger sister leaned close and whispered, "How long have you known?" I didn't look away from Nen. Long enough to stop thinking I was the problem. That's when she finally moved. She stepped forward, pulled out a chair, and sat down like she still had any right to. "This is pathetic," she muttered. Then added, "If you were half the man Tucker—" I leaned in, low and sharp. "Say his name again. I dare you." Her lips clamped shut. But it was too late. The room had already tipped. Voices overlapping, gasps, questions. Her family flipping through the files like they didn't know the woman sitting next to them anymore. That's when I pulled out my phone, hit play on a screen recording I'd pieced together carefully. Messages, notes, history. Everything synced and pulled from backups she assumed I'd never figure out. But the audio I played wasn't from her. It was from Tucker. Probably drunk, probably after she ghosted him. A 2-minute voicemail. No love, no apologies, just bitter truth. He talked about how easy it was to mess with her, said she was addicted to chaos. Called her a beautiful mess wrapped in excuses. And me? He called me a soft target. Said it all started as a bet, a game. He and another guy wanted to see who could get into her mind first. When I played that part, the entire place fell silent. You could hear a fork being set down 2 tables over. Her mom gasped. Her sister cursed. And Nan, she looked like a ghost had slapped her. She started, but I cut her off. "You never thought I'd find it. That's what really gets you." She turned to her parents, desperate now, pleading. She stood there, eyes locked on me, and said, "He's twisting this. He hacked me." I didn't flinch, just pulled out a small envelope from my coat and slid it across the table. Inside was a business card. "Independent forensic tech," I said. "Everything was verified, time-stamped, nothing's edited." I leaned forward. "If you really want to see how deep this goes, check the deleted files folder on your tablet. Or the recovery bin you forgot even existed. Or better yet, the app that tracked your location. The one syncing every hotel visit." Nayan stood up, voice shaking. "I'm not doing this." But then her father spoke, quiet, furious. "Sit. Down." I'd never heard that edge in his voice before. Neither had she. She froze, torn between running and obeying, face flushed, eyes darting between me, the table, and the family she thought she could fool. I stood instead, slid my phone into my pocket. "You know what's funny?" I said calmly. "This dinner, this isn't even the climax. It's just the trailer. Her face twisted with fear and confusion. I'm not taking you to court, not fighting over the dog, and definitely not begging for answers. I already have them. I turned to her parents. You raised someone who lies better than she breathes. Then I looked at her, not with hate, not with hurt, just with clarity. And now she's about to lose something she didn't even know she still had. I walked out before anyone else could speak, because the next part, it wasn't meant for a dinner table. It was meant for her inbox. When she opened that email, she'd find a link, a private video. But not one she remembered filming, because she hadn't. And that's what would hit her first. No message from me, no explanation. Just a clip titled, "You said this to him about me." What she didn't know was that the footage was from 4 months ago, back when she still pretended to love me, back when her lies were smooth enough to make me doubt my own instincts. It had come from a smart home camera she didn't even know. Recorded. I'd bought it secondhand to monitor our dog while we were out. Tiny, hidden, tucked behind books she never touched. I had no plan to spy on her. Until one afternoon I tried troubleshooting it remotely from work and opened the archive. That's when I saw it. A random weekday mid-morning. I had forgotten my charger, so I came home unannounced. On the footage she was pacing in her robe, phone to her ear, laughing. Then Tucker showed up. She opened the door before he even knocked. What followed is now etched in me forever. Her voice. Her tone. The way she poured him a drink while mocking. Me? How she called me sweet but dumb, said I was low maintenance and safe, and that's why she kept me around. Tucker laughed. He's probably at work thinking you're folding laundry or meal prepping, he said. She stared right toward the shelf, unaware of the lens, and whispered, He thinks I'm his wife. That hit harder than anything else. I never confronted her, not then. Not the next day. I just let the betrayal unfold in full, without denial, without interruptions. Now it was sitting in her inbox, uncut, time-stamped. She couldn't delete it. I'd disabled that. Couldn't forward it. Couldn't explain it. The next morning, she finally called. I let it ring. Then came the text. We need to talk. Please. That video was taken out of context. That phrase shattered something inside me. Like every humiliation she fed me had suddenly piled too high. I replied with only 2 words, check Dropbox. Inside were folders, every voice note she'd ever sent Tucker, every message, every screen recording, even GPS logs showing her car parked outside his place. There was a copy of a medical bill she'd tried to hide, prescriptions under her maiden name. And at the bottom, one last file. A video. This time it was me. Sitting on the edge of our bed, in front of the mirror she used to get ready for him. Calm. Still. Looking straight into the camera. If you're watching this, I said, it means you finally realized what you've done. Or maybe you just ran out of ways to spin it. You turned our marriage into performance art. Here's my final act. I'm not going to court. I'm not asking for anything. I'm leaving the keys, the car, and the silence. And you can keep everything you took from me, because I already took back the one thing that matters, myself. That was it. No dramatic sign-off, just truth. 2 hours later, her sister called me, furious, not at me, at Nan. Curtis, she said, I saw the file. The texts, the video. I feel sick. I don't know how you stayed sane. I didn't answer. Because the truth? I didn't. Not really. Something inside me broke quietly, long before this ever went public. I just got good at hiding it. But now it was all out in the open. And Nayan? She wasn't done. Because that night, just as the dust was settling, she showed up at my door, holding something I never expected her to bring back. She stood there like the past hadn't just caved in, hair tied back. No makeup, no rings, no mask, just holding something in her hand that didn't belong to her anymore. My old high school journal. I hadn't seen it in years. It had been buried deep under winter coats in the closet, the kind of thing you forget, exists until someone digs with intention. She held it like a confession. "I found this," she said softly, "and I read it." I didn't move, didn't ask her in, just stood behind the barely cracked door with the night pressing in behind. Her. And in that moment, all I wanted to remember was how it felt to keep something closed. She looked up slowly, her voice soft, like she was standing over something already broken. "Who you were, before I ruined it." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. That she thought showing up now, with that journal in her hand, was even close to a reasonable move after everything she'd done. "Why are you here, Nan?" I asked. She flipped open the journal to a page I hadn't read in decades. "You wrote about being scared no one would ever choose you. That people always wanted someone louder, more fearless. That you were just the safe one." Then she looked at me, full of something that looked like shame. "That's why I did it, because I hated that it was true." There it was, her first attempt to twist my pain into her excuse. "You used my trauma like a cheat code for betrayal," I said, my voice like stone. "Impressive." She winced. Then she stepped inside. I didn't stop her. Maybe part of me wanted to hear it, the final excuse, the last spin of her story. She sat on the edge of the couch, holding that journal like it was something she'd just killed. "I thought I'd feel powerful," she said, barely above a whisper. "Being wanted by someone like him. Someone who made me feel dangerous. But every time I came home, you were still kind, still folding my sweaters, still remembering I hate cinnamon." She looked up, and that made me hate myself more. I stayed standing. "You were never boring, Nan," she said again. "You were whole, and I didn't know how to live with that." "Then why didn't you leave?" I asked. "Why not just say it? Pack your things and go." Her answer was fast. "Because you wouldn't have stopped me, and that would have made me feel worse." There it was. Her cruelty, dressed up in soft language. She wanted me to break, to scream, to cry. She needed me to make it easier for her to call herself the victim, but I never gave her that. And now, with the wreckage laid bare in front of her, she had no one left to blame. She stood and walked over to the kitchen counter, placing the journal, down next to my keys. "I know you'll never take me back. I'm not here for that. I just needed you to know." I tried to stop myself. I tried to fix it. "No," I said. "You tried not to get caught. That's not the same." She nodded slowly, then reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something else. A USB drive. My stomach sank. "What is that?" Her eyes shimmered. "Insurance." "Against what?" I asked. "Against him." Now I was listening. "He recorded things," she whispered. "Private things. Told me if I ever ghosted him, he'd send them to you. To my job. To my parents." Her voice cracked. "Some of it, I didn't even know he recorded." My face went cold. "Tucker filmed you?" She nodded. "He called it leverage." I stepped back. "And now you're giving that to me?" She finally looked like she might cry. I thought, if I gave it to you, maybe it would undo something. Even just a little. I took the USB without another word. She moved toward the door. "I know I've already lost, but if you ever find a way to forgive me, or even just stop hating me, please let me know." I didn't reply, just closed the door softly behind her, then stared at the drive for what felt like an hour. I should have destroyed it, burned it, pretended it didn't exist, but I didn't. I plugged it in, and what I found inside changed everything I thought I knew, not just about her, but about Tucker. The drive was silver, scratched up on one side like it had been carried around. Too long, it felt heavier than it should have, like it carried more than just digital weight. There were 6 folders, no names, just dates, spread across the last 7 months. I opened the first one. It was what I feared. A grainy video, obviously filmed, from a nightstand or shelf. It was Nan and Tucker. The angle was invasive, the audio even worse. I recognized her voice, her laugh, the same one she used to save for me. I stopped it after 10 seconds. I couldn't go further. This wasn't about punishing myself. I almost deleted it. Almost. But something stopped me. I opened the second folder. Not her this time. A different woman. Dark hair. Younger. Nervous. She looked like she didn't know why she was there. I didn't recognize her, but I saw the hesitation in her movements. Then the audio kicked in. Tucker's voice, calm but cold. "You said you needed the job. I'm trying to help you. Just relax. No one's going to see this but me." My blood froze. I clicked the third folder. Another woman, another apartment, same tone, same setup. I realized slowly that this wasn't just about cheating. Tucker was a predator. He had a pattern. He used charm as bait and power as a trap. He manipulated them, filmed them, threatened them. I skipped to the 5th folder and felt everything in me drop. It was Emily, our old dog sitter. College-aged, sweet. She'd stayed in our house a few weekends while we were away. She was sitting on a couch I recognized. Uncomfortable. Tucker's voice came from off-camera. "Your boss's husband," he said. "Think he'd believe you? Think he even knows your last name?" She didn't respond, just folded in on herself, like she already knew it didn't matter. That's when I shut the laptop. For the first time in this entire nightmare, I didn't feel betrayed. I felt responsible. I had welcomed this man into my home, fed him, trusted him, defended him. And now I had a drive full of proof that he'd not only destroyed my marriage, but had hurt at least 5 other women. Maybe more. I texted Nan. "Did you know about the others?" She replied 2 minutes later. "What others?" I sent a screenshot. Emily's face frozen mid-frame, scared out of her mind. This time, she didn't respond. I called Emily next. I didn't even know what I was going to say. I just knew I couldn't keep sitting with what I'd seen. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Curtis?" Her voice was cautious. "Emily, this is going to sound insane, but I know." She cut in before I could finish. "I figured you'd find out eventually. I didn't think he'd keep it. I didn't think he'd share it." I swallowed. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" She was quiet for a second. "Because he told me he'd ruin me. Said you wouldn't believe me. Said your wife already hated me. He said if I said a word, I'd lose everything." I felt sick, just completely hollow. Then she asked, "Is Nan okay?" I almost laughed. "Define okay." Silence again. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner, but you were one of the only people who ever treated me decently. I didn't want to pull you into it. I thought you were the only one who didn't know." Her voice cracked. "But I guess now you do." After we hung up, I sat alone in the dark, my screen still glowing, folders open like open wounds. The weight on my chest felt like I was drowning. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was responsibility. Justice. Fixing a wreck that didn't start with me but now belonged to me. So I copied every single file to a secure drive. Then I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my brother. A criminal defense attorney. "This isn't about a divorce anymore," I told him. "It's bigger. I've got evidence. A lot. And if this thing blows up, I'm not going down alone." He paused, then calmly said, "Come by the office first. Thing. Don't tell anyone else." So I did. I met him the next morning at his law firm. We didn't hug. We're not the hugging type. But the look he gave me said everything. This was real. This was heavy. "This won't be easy," he said. "But you're doing the right thing." We spent 4 straight hours going through everything. Every video, every screenshot, every audio clip. He didn't speak much at first. Just took notes, made backups, asked questions like a surgeon poking around for fragments. At one point, he looked up and said, "You're not just sitting on a scandal, you're sitting on a felony." He told me what to do, who to call, what not to say, and when to shut up. By noon, we had a plan. By dusk, Tucker's name was in a sealed report sent to a trusted contact in law enforcement. I didn't go to the cops myself. I didn't need to. My brother knew who to talk to and how to make it count. That night, Nain texted again. He's threatening to leak everything. Not just the videos. Our messages. Your journal. Stuff I said in anger. "Curtis, he's going nuclear." I stared at that message for a long time. Thought about all the things. She'd said all the ways she broke things she couldn't fix. And for a moment, a short fleeting one, I felt sorry for her. Because now she wasn't in control anymore. She was just another person Tucker had used and discarded. I texted back 2 words. Too late. She didn't reply. 3 days later, my brother called. They picked him up quietly. "Won't hit the press until charges are filed, but he's not walking from this, Kurt. You stopped him." I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like a hero. I just felt clean, like a storm had ripped through, tore the house apart, and left behind something still but safe. I moved out a week later, not because I had to, the house was legally mine, but because I didn't want to breathe air that remembered her. I got a place across town. Smaller, simpler, no shared closets, no forgotten perfume trapped in the carpet. The divorce was uncontested. She didn't ask for anything. I think she knew she'd already taken enough. Months passed. I started running, again. Took a pottery class, read novels instead of court documents, slept through the night without waking up angry, and for the first time in years, I stopped bracing myself for the next knife in the back. I met someone eventually. Her name was Camille. She had the kind of laugh that didn't sound rehearsed. We met at a bookstore, both reaching for the same dusty novel we admitted we'd never finish. She asked me to coffee. I said yes. We didn't talk about our exes. We talked about music, rescue dogs, and how the world just feels different when you finally step out of someone else's shadow. The first time she came over, she looked around my apartment, smiled, and said, "It feels peaceful in here." And that's when I knew. I was finally free. Not just from Nain, not just from Tucker, but from the version of myself that thought being quiet made me weak. That loyalty meant staying even after the foundation had rotted through. That man was gone. What remained was someone honest, healing, whole. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to explain that to anyone. Because peace, real peace, doesn't need to be justified. And this time, I wasn't going to let anyone take it from me.